Hey friends, my name is Gio and I'm making my own graphic novel. I love this medium for storytelling, but it's an insane amount of work. So I'm learning how to use new AI tools to speed up my content creation and sharing what I learn with you. I split my time between making new pages, editing them into shorter time lapses like this one, and making longer tutorials that take more time to produce but are packed full of my favorite techniques. I'm grateful that I get to do all of this while earning a sweet 6-figure income as a UX designer working remotely full-time. If that sounds like a vibe you want more of in your life, come join me on this journey for skills you can apply to your creative career. Today I want to ask, what looks like work to others but feels like play to you? That's the gist of a quote from Naval Ravikant that I like lately. I think a lot these days about the tension between the quiet enjoyment that comes from drawing and painting and exploring new techniques, and the demands of posting work regularly and maintaining a publishing schedule. Being a content creator is an incredible balancing act, especially when it's the side hustle to your day job. And on top of that, making a graphic novel is a huge undertaking by itself. And maybe you're into comics or maybe another creative field, but since you clicked on this video, you probably enjoy art and storytelling and making things, so I'm betting you can relate to that sense of tension between making your art and pushing yourself to get it out there, no matter what creative medium you're drawn to. So putting those two big challenges together is already a lot to handle, but now add in other important aspects of life, like exercise, sleep, nutrition, romantic life, family life. And it's easy to see why only a small percentage of YouTube channels make it to the partner program, or why long-term creative projects get dropped before they get completed. But you know, some aspirations or passions just call to you, no matter how difficult they are or how long they take to finish. And that is this project for me. When I'm not earning my keep working on my day job and I'm left to my own devices, it's just where my mind goes. It's what I've always wanted to do. Good stories enrich my life, and the impulse to create my own and share it with the world is intrinsically self-motivating. Whatever that motivator is for you, if you've got that creative spark, it's like you can't not work on it. Maybe you even get depressed if that part of yourself isn't getting expressed often enough, right? Like you could maybe go learn how to be a Wall Street banker or get a job doing something more lucrative than art. But even if you make good money doing it, if it prevents you from engaging in your creative practice, it feels like something inside is unfulfilled. There's another quote from Jim Carrey where he says, "You can fail at something you don't want, so you might as well take a chance doing what you love." And that makes sense to me. And sure, it's what you love, it's for you, and on one hand that could mean it's a selfish impulse. But to put it in balance, the authors and teachers Kevin Kelly and Seth Godin both say you have to adopt this mindset that by not practicing and expressing and sharing the art inside of you, you're depriving others of the value it brings to their lives. So if you can find a way to serve others while also feeding that creative spark inside you, that's a win-win for everyone. So writing and drawing this story feels like play to me, but I also want it to bring value to you, my creative friends. So as a new content creator, I'm still experimenting with how to make and release videos consistently and at a regular frequency, and with enough value and learning woven into it to be worth your attention amid the sea of endless options. I want to make longer in-depth tutorials for y'all, but I've noticed that making that kind of tutorial style walkthrough is a lot more work, which is cool, I'm down to do the work, but I want to keep some lighter weight content flowing in the meantime, like what you're watching right now. If you've seen some of my other videos so far, you know that I use a combination of Procreate, Photoshop, Figma, Midjourney, and Stable Diffusion to make these comic panels. But in the effort to keep content flowing and sharing what I'm working on, and keep some teasers and previews coming, I'm going to work on releasing these Procreate time lapses more frequently between tutorial drops. Because Procreate just holds a special place in my heart. I just love the elegant user interface and the feeling it gives me when I'm working in it, so that's where I like to do the bulk of the drawing and painting. One feature that I also love about Procreate is that every piece you make is automatically saved as a time lapse, but it's procedural rather than real-time recording. What that means is that when I make a paint stroke on the canvas, even if I pause for a few moments to think about what I want to do next, the time lapse output will just jump immediately to the next paint stroke. For you as the viewer, this means there's not a lot of jerky zooming in and out or long pauses that might disrupt the aesthetic experience of the video. There's just this relaxing, continuous flow of watching it come to life before your eyes. So what's happening in the background outside of Procreate is that I'm using AI tools like Stable Diffusion Automatic 1111 to make layer assets, then dropping the outputs I like into Figma to keep them organized and easily at hand, then pasting them from Figma into Procreate here as needed. But I'm thinking I'll save the real-time footage of working in those tools for longer videos and tutorials, because it's just harder on the viewer's eyes to watch a sped-up time-lapse of those apps with a lot more menus and panning and zooming. Putting my UX designer hat on, I think that kind of content is more enjoyable to watch at lower speeds or in real time, and for me that means having to edit individual cuts that line up with the narration, which means it just takes a while longer to finish and release. And speaking of which, right now I'm working on a new in-depth tutorial where I'm excited to share a deeper explanation of the new techniques I'm applying in this latest page. I feel like after a lot of problem solving and experimentation, I recently had a few creative breakthroughs where I figured out new ways to get better, faster results using the same tools but in a different way, including Stable Diffusion and Photoshop's new Generative Fill AI tool and Procreate's excellent Liquify tool. So I'm looking forward to sharing that latest set of techniques with y'all when I'm finished editing, so stay tuned. But in the meantime, before that's released, if you'd like to see a more in-depth explanation of the AI-powered parts of the workflow I'm using here, check out this video for an overview of the techniques I'm using lately. I'll put that link in the description also. So going back to that quote about doing what feels like play to you, in this time-lapse I'm drawing the introduction of my story's protagonist, and this is what feels like play to her. Yet another challenge with doing this kind of storytelling and content creation is, on top of trying to hit a reasonable quality level with the images on each page, you also have to make sure the story is good, meaning that the writing that the visual art supports is strong and tight on its own, and that's a whole deep discipline unto itself. I read a great book on script writing called Save the Cat, and the author says that to make a well-rounded character in the screen time you have available, you want to show your character at home, at work, and at play, to give an idea of who they are and what they care about and what problems or conflict they're facing at the heart of the story. So here I'm introducing my main character both at home and at play. Especially for comics, I've heard that it makes sense to base the story around what you like to draw, otherwise you might burn out drawing stuff that feels more like work. But that creates another complication. For example, I like drawing gardens and sunsets, so I based the script around creating the conditions for that in the shot. But does that make sense in the story? This character lives in a near-future New York City apartment in the Bronx working as a bike courier, but having been to New York before and seeing how little living space you actually get in an apartment there, the amenities shown here are maybe unrealistic. Like, could she afford a corner apartment with a balcony and a view? And I know it gets pretty cold in New York, so are the plants she's growing realistic for those lighting and climate conditions? But to bring it back to AI tools, I've been really getting a kick out of using ChatGPT to figure out plausible explanations and even a realistic list of ideas for the different plants there, just by describing the context of why I'm asking. And like I said, I'll look forward to sharing more of that holistic process overview in a more robust tutorial. On that note, I'll wrap this one up so I can go crank on editing that longer tutorial so you can learn some sweet new techniques to apply to your own images and projects. Thanks a lot for tuning in, and if you enjoyed this little creative session and appreciate the time that goes into making this kind of content, I'd be so grateful if you drop a like and subscribe so you see the full tutorial when it comes out. Thanks again, friends. Peace.